Good evening. All right, welcome everyone as we start our work session this evening. The first item on the agenda for our work session, we call this meeting to order. We are going to okay, everyone had an opportunity to review our agenda for tonight and also our meeting minutes. So was there any question that anyone had concerning the minutes? And Ms. Tuberville will be signing on soon, and I think via telephone. Is that correct, Mr. Barnes?
That's correct.
Was there any questions that anyone had concerning our minutes?
No.
Ms. Chester, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay, great. And so as we move on, the next item is the consideration of award of bid for the construction of our rain gardens. That's going to be on our agenda. Construction of the rain gardens on Lafayette to professional lawn maintenance service in the amount of $30,435. Is there any question concerning that?
Nope.
Nope.
The
Okay.
grant covers most of it?
I'm sorry?
Does the grant cover most of that?
All of it.
All of it, okay.
We're actually going to be able to add a little bit. The grant is 68,000. By the time we put engineering in, we're going to have enough to redo the, remember the rain garden there on Lafayette that was done with the port towns a number of years ago, and it hasn't, for a long time, it wasn't very well maintained. And so then when I started getting it maintained, it still needs some work. So I think because our bid came in so low, we're going to be able to add a little bit of redo of that garden to plant some new plants and do some work on it. So I'm excited because that parking lot behind the warehouse there at the courtyard, that's drains into that. It's a pretty large area that drains these three rain gardens. This will give us, I think, this is our 28th, 29th, and 30th rain garden in the town. So it's been a really great avenue for us to help with stormwater management. We did a virtual tour sign off on the Ingraham one, so if you get a chance to look at the ones on Ingraham, please take advantage to do that. Sadie Drescher, our program manager with the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and Tanvir Bular with Prince George's County Stormwater Management approved them yesterday. Was very happy with the outcome of those gardens. So we also put in some linear feet of permeable gutter on Ingraham, and it seemed to have now solved some of the water ponding that happened on that street. So we're really happy about that too.
Rod, do you know how much square footage we have now in rain gardens? Is that something?
I don't off the top of my head, but yeah, that's a good question, and I can calculate it all up because we have it for everyone. And
yeah, it'd be cool
we have to
see
put that on our,
what we have.
yeah, I can even tell you the acres drained by, collecting water from them, how many acres are collected. So good question. Yeah, I'll get that information. And we have 250 tulip bulbs coming up in the rain gardens on 46th Avenue that we planted in the fall. And so this spring, they should be pretty colorful as the plants. This will be their second year for the plants. So they're starting to take hold too, but the tulips should make that for a very pretty area.
Mhm. It's a shame. I was just thinking, with our rain gardens and our flooding, it's sort of like I wish that the way that the rain enters into the homes, the rain gardens really they serve a great purpose, that's for sure. They definitely serve a great purpose on the outside, but I wish we could do something that would serve the purpose that would keep the flooding down on the inside of our homes. With the rain gardens, they're so wonderful, but gotta figure out how to stop that water from getting into the homes somehow or another. Okay. All right, so the next item is the consideration of the introduction of our ordinance amending the town's purchasing policy and to add the authorization to purchase from the state and federal contracts. So I know Ms. Tuberville had some question about it, and I kind of want to wait to see if she comes in on the conversation, but if anyone had any question or comments about it, we can come back, because I really want to hash it out now as opposed to going back and forth when we go into our meeting and drawing out the meeting. I really want to get all those questions or concerns that we have about it. This is on the agenda because we found that a lot of times we have to come to the council for what is the amount now, 3,000?
Yes.
So we have to come to the council for approval for $3,000, which is a really low amount. And we have to come to you quite often for 3,000. When some of the examples are emergencies that we would have to come to you that are $5,000, $6,000. Mr. Barnes brought to my attention the emergency that we had out front, the plumbing emergency. We would have to meet or as a council, as an emergency, to get that taken care of. You know, it's one thing we have to get bids. That's already a safeguard. We have to get bids for large amounts anyway. So we would have to get bids, and then we would have to get the council together to get the approval for something that's over $3,000. You know, a pipe bursting, it's going to be over $3,000 in most cases. Another example is even internally, it could be 5,000, and we still have to come to the council for those type of, oh great, Ms. Tuberville is on, for those type of things. And I understand some of Ms. Tuberville's concerns of taking advantage, and I'll allow her to say so, some that might take advantage of things like that. But it allows us to be able to make these type of decisions with the mayor's approval without having to always come to the council. And with Ms. Tuberville being here, I want you to go ahead and state your concerns. We just got to the item of the introduction of the ordinance amendment for the purchasing policy. And if you could just go ahead and state your concerns, and any other council member, Ms. Chester, Ms. McCauley, if you have any concerns about that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I was on for a while, just my video wasn't on. So I heard the end of the discussion with respect to the rain gardens and have been on since then. So yeah, so I understand that a $3,000 threshold can be too low and cumbersome, and it's maybe not necessary for the council to need to approve every single thing over that amount. $10,000 seems like a pretty big jump, and if it weren't you sitting in that seat and Rod sitting in his seat and Chief Gibson sitting in his seat, and we had other people in those positions, I might worry about having a $10,000 threshold full stop, because I think that could be ripe for abuse. And so I wonder if we might be able to talk about finding some kind of happy medium. And hearing the concerns about emergencies, one thought I have is that maybe it makes sense to qualify that, you know, maybe we could move the general approval amount to $5,000, and that if it is an emergency requiring immediate attention, that that the threshold goes up to $10,000. So that's one idea.
Council members?
Is there a distinction between purchasing from state and federal contracts versus just if you're going with public or, you know, private company vendors? I wasn't clear on that. If
Yeah,
that makes a difference.
the state and federal contracts are typically for big purchase items like vehicles. We've always bought the police cruisers off of the state contract because they can go out and buy 150 cars and get a big difference than what we can. We've used them for some small equipment, but not for any supplies or anything. Not that we couldn't. What this would allow us to do, any established contract that there is that was competitively bid by the state of Maryland or Prince George's County or the federal government, we could buy off of that if the price was low. But now we still have to come to you and say, okay, you know, we're buying this product for this amount from state contract or PGC contract versus competitive bid.
I see.
So it's still in your purview to say yes or no to that, whether we do that. And we only typically use that when we know that we're going to save some big dollars based on volume. And we don't come to you for like supplies. So if we're buying, you know, $3,000 worth of office supplies, we're not going to come and ask you, can we buy $3,000 worth of office supplies? And so, you know, I was giving the mayor some examples, like I need to fix 3 potholes in town. I get 3 bids from the contractors and the bids are $5,600. I can't move forward then on that for a month, say, because I got to come back to you all to get approval to get going on that. Where if we have this limit in proposed, I just take the bids to the mayor signs off on them, and then we move on to the, and that's what she did. The plumbing example she gave when the plumbing backed up here at Town Hall, we got 3 quotes, and yeah, they were above $3,000, and we didn't have time to get the council together because it happened in the winter in middle of holidays and stuff. And so the mayor signed off that, okay, we're going to move out based on the low bid that we have for that service. So it works well. I see Councilmember Tuberville's question about, but then the ordinance can be changed either also at any time by any group or any council that would like to change it.
Well, my concern about that is that you would need to change it maybe precisely at the time when you don't have. I mean, look, I'm speaking. I'm trying to manage.
You're not hurting. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings.
No, it's not anyone who is in any of these boxes right now on Zoom who is my concern, right? Like that is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to
we chose
address a concern where if we had different council members who would be more than happy for, you know, $9,900 expenditures to be made to improve the mayor's office and to do like very, you know, superfluous and frivolous kinds of things, right? Like that's my concern, is that if the threshold is moved up too high and is allowed for basically like any expenditure, then that is where potential abuse could come in down the line. And so that's I don't know. And so I'm just trying to figure out what to do about that. But
you have budget control, so the expenditure can't happen unless it's in the budget and the mayor and council approve the budget. So, so you know, you folks have that control in place to begin with. So that if $9,999 worth of improvements to the mayor's office wasn't in the budget and been approved by you and the council, then it couldn't get, well, I mean, I guess the mayor could ignore y'all and approve it, like you said, and then have an abuse of the system. But yeah, I mean, I see, Sarah, what you're saying exactly, and we came up with the 10,000, Sue Ellen and I, because that's the common number that towns use, and so you can put any number obviously in there. I just believe 3,000 is way too restrictive and too low.
So you may run into that anyway, according to who your mayor may be, that they will, even with the 3,000, ignore, become abusive and just remodel the office anyway, whether it's 3,000, 5,000, or 10,000. And you may also have a council that would, at 3,000, stop certain purchases based on whatever, right?
Right.
So it's a toss-up. So you can have a bad scenario either way. I just don't want to be so restrictive with the administration that we have now, that we are not moving forward and making the purchases that we need to make with the administration that we have now, where we are now. I do understand what you're saying.
Sarah, I understand what you're saying, because that's the first thing I thought of. You know, what if we weren't in, another group was? Well, if the other group comes in and it's still low, they can change it and we have no control over it, you know, if they do that. Well, why should we restrict ourselves right now for what I think is a good idea? Because if another group does get in, you know, as a mayor, council, they can change it and make it even higher if they want it. And we would have no control over that.
So what if we keyed into it then a notification trigger at least, right? So that so if it is, you know, so say it's like $7,000 and it's, you know, for whatever the amount is, that we would say anything that is above $5,000 triggers an immediate just notification to the council about what it is, so that we're just put on notice. Rather than waiting, like, you know,
until the next meeting,
until a month later and having to like go through like the specific line items to see if we can figure it out, right? And then that way it also puts us in a better position to know what's going on in the town too, right? Because if it's like, you know, a major flooding problem or whatever else, like that's good for us to know, so that we can make better decisions in the future about capital expenditures and things like that we might need. I don't know.
What if, I don't mind that at all, Sarah. I think that's fine, because I think I try to keep y'all, and I'm sure Chief Gibson will too, notified on just about everything. But what if we compromised and lowered the 10,000 down to 7,500? Would you feel better at that? With the notification of anything between 5,000 and 7,500 or something? I guess I don't.
I mean, I'd be comfortable. Look, I'm not like dug into this position at all. I just wanted to express my concern. So I think I would feel comfortable if it was like, if it was 10,000, but notification for any expenditure that's over 5,000.
Okay, that's cool.
What do other people think about that?
I'm fine with that.
I think with the notification, we just need to probably ask Sue Ellen just to make sure, like, is there language around that, you know, like, what if I'm like, well, I wasn't notified, like, we didn't check your email, like, well, you know, I mean, like, I guess we don't want to set ourselves up for that kind of conflict either, that, you know, what does notified mean if,
I think we're working in a courtesy,
Okay.
Ms. Chester. I think that's what this notification is. I don't
Yeah.
know that it's,
I wouldn't want it to become an obstacle where then, people have to acknowledge back that they were notified.
No,
but-
no. I don't mean that, but I do mean like there's an obligation to send an email. Whether or not council members check their emails is a totally different thing. Like that's not the obligation is met if the email is sent to our government email addresses. And then I just think that would make me feel just a little bit more comfortable, right? In case, we started to see some kind of pattern. Not that I'm suggesting anyone here would engage in that. The people here are not what I am concerned about at all. And then that would give, the leadership in the town the flexibility to be able to make financial decisions as needed.
When was the
Well-
last time that threshold was raised? I mean, do we raise it every few years to go along with just general cost increases or?
no, we haven't raised that since forever.
I think Sue Ellen
Since it's
didn't
been
write
raised.
the original ordinance, she indicated, and so that means that Guy would have written it. So it's
Oh.
been many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then just
like-
thinking about that, like if 15 years ago it was 5,000 or 10 years ago even it was 5,000, then it makes sense to go up some reasonable
Mhm.
increment.
No, and the mayor's absolutely right. I mean, for the most part, this threshold has been used as a way to muck up decision, like the ability to make timely decisions on needs of the town. I mean, it definitely has been sort of weaponized in that way for the most part. And I completely agree that we need to fix that. But I don't want us to go too far in the other direction where it can be weaponized in the other way. If there was
Mhm.
somebody else sitting in the mayor's seat or Rod's seat.
I like your suggestion. I like it. I can have Sue Ellen draft up the language change because this is introduction tonight, and so it won't get approved until April.
Mhm. But I also want us to remember that in most cases, in this case, in this administration, you're notified in Mr. Barnes and I generally keep you updated on purchases or anything that's major in this administration. So I understand if anything changes. So I don't want to, and I hear what you're saying, in case you get the email or don't get the email or get the notification or not. I just don't want to lock into, I don't want us to lock into that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
almost worse
yeah.
than having to bring it to the council to have to sort of
Yeah.
rely on people.
Because it does happen. And so just the notification over,
Mhm.
that amount is just cool because it happens anyway. The notification.
Yeah. I mean, I
And,
think sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say, Ms. McCulley, I totally agree with you. Like, why should we cause ourselves to suffer, and not, why should we suffer and not be able to go to the $10,000 based on other mess, Why should we do that and not take advantage of it now, just in case something happens in another administration? We should do it now and go ahead and have that because we're good. There's a trust factor that we have here, and let's just do it. Let's set some things in place. Let's have a rule here and let's follow it. So thank you, Ms. Turville and council members, McCulley and Ms. Chester. And so we can go ahead and make this happen. Oh, Ms.
That sounds
Chester, Ms. Turville, I'm sorry, you had one more thing you were gonna say.
Well, I was thinking about the notification requirement. It might be helpful to ask Sue Ellen, for the mechanics of that, should we say within 48 hours of what? Right? That's what I'm not of.
Presentation to the
Oh,
mayor.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Request submitted to the mayor. So if Chief or I
Decision.
submit a request for purchasing under $10,000, but less than, I mean, more than 5,000, we submit that request to the mayor, then within 48 hours, that has to go out to you folks too.
Simply like, right, to be clear, though, it's only for notification. It's not for approval purposes. Yeah.
Right.
Right, notification of
Right.
this said purchase.
Okay. I'm good with that. That's great.
And-
Thank you all very much.
And then I just wanted to say, and not to hold it up. So not to question and, why is this being done? And not to say that you can't, of course, but just remember that a lot of times this is what happens when there is a lot of priviness to it, because the town administrator or the chief is trying to make a decision. We've already gotten the bids, we've already done whatever it is necessary, and this purchase needs to be made. And sometimes when, and not saying that the council that we have or the council that we have, sometimes when you go ahead and put that information out, then there's a lot of other questions that might hold up that
Yeah.
actual purchase. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid in a way, so that we can go ahead and make that purchase. So just keep that in mind, that the notification is the notification. Not cutting you out like that, but it's the notification. Thank you. Okay. All right. Oh, I guess I'm next. And so was there any clarity that needed to be on the state? I think Ms. Chester did. Oh, that's.
So do we not currently have authorization to make those kind of purchases?
On the state contract, not specifically clear in the current one, so we're trying to make it clear. We've come to you in the past and you've approved that, but we want to make sure that we definitely have that. So
Okay,
she redid the wording to provide that.
I get it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense too, because as a small community, like we ought to be able to benefit from like some of the resources that other people have already put into getting bids on things. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Who has the, can you move the, who's sharing the agenda? Can you move it down some? Is that you, Mr. Barnes?
Oh, ma'am.
Maybe it's just on your own computer.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's sharing, are they?
You have a
Yeah.
printed copy on your desk there in front of you.
Oh, that's me. Dang,
I think it's just on your computer. I don't think anyone is actually sharing it.
dang, that was good.
It did-
Oh, now I lost you.
Ah,
I was doing something I didn't know I could do. Dang, never.
Are you sure those are your glasses?
Okay, all right, I did it. I got you back. I got you back. Oh, dang, I can do that. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so the next item is the consideration of the proposed use, proposed use agreement between Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission and the town for construction of the walking trail at the Edmiston Rec Center. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited about that. So excited about that. Mr. Barnes.
So as you recall, we were successful with the Department of Wildlife obtaining the rubbery, spongy trail to go around behind the rec center. And so the park and planning require a use agreement, just like we have our use agreement for the rec center. And this spells out all of the requirements that we have to go through in order for them, because it's their land, obviously. And it's a 20-year agreement. And so this is just a good thing, and they have to approve everything, and that's a good thing. And before we can do the grant, Sue Ellen has, it's gone back and forth between Park and Planning and Sue Ellen, and they've ironed out all their differences, so it's ready to go for approval.
Any questions? Any excitement?
Lots of excitement.
do you have any idea what the
In the
timeline
construction-
is to complete that?
We have a year, so to get it done. My goal is to, because of the bureaucracy and red tape with park and planning, I don't anticipate starting probably till fall, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's a very long process with them to get the
Yeah.
paperwork. We got this award like
Feels like forever.
almost a year ago, and so it was a very long process just to get to the point of getting them okay, even though they submitted a support letter and was fine with the concept. And so I fully anticipate it's going to take a while again. They have, by the way, they have requested a meeting with us to talk about installing a futsal court over here at the rec center area.
Oh, cool.
A futsal court. Futsal is like soccer on a tennis court.
It's what they did to the playground on 47.
47.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it can be a tennis court, it can be a volleyball court, it can be a soccer court. Like,
Right.
Rod, could you share the specs with us about what it's supposed to look like again?
Oh, the trail. If you've seen the one over at Bladensburg by their town hall, it's a spongy kind of rubbery like trail, and it'll have 10 exercise stations located around the course. The course will start basically at the back of the rec center and go around the perimeter along the edge so that we don't disrupt being able to get out on that field for events, or they'll still be able to play soccer, or they'll still be able to play baseball. And then it'll wrap all the way around the edge over by Fountain Park Apartments, and then down along the timber behind the playground and come back to the rec center. So,
That's
What
awesome.
color is it going to be?
I'm sorry?
What color will it be? That pinkish color or green?
We probably have our choice.
think-
Do you like having a color instead of the black?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay, I'll bring that back to you. I think the one that I got information on and based the grant on was just black, but
Oh, well.
I wasn't very imaginative, I guess. I was just so excited to get it that
I know.
I'd like iridescent rainbow, please.
Oh yeah, it looks like it can be blue, green, kind of a pinkish gray, it can be pinkish, it can be brown and black.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see the color selections.
Oh, yeah.
No, wait, what? Let's see. Oh, is that blue? Like kind of like an aquamarine blue?
Uh-huh.
I always vote
It'll
Edmonton
match the
green,
police
so
cars.
Yeah, the green is there. I think the Edmondson green is a good idea, Sarah.
I like it.
That's a good one.
this is so great. I'm so excited about this.
I was hoping we could get like the dedication onto this year's event calendar, but sounds like
Oh, yeah, no.
It's not going to happen.
Now with park and planning.
all right. Groundbreaking day.
Here's the exercise
Stations.
station.
Rod, could you email that stuff to us?
Uh-huh, I sure
Because
can.
that's great stuff for us to be able to share with people.
It is great. So great.
And this is just tangentially related, not on the agenda, but any updates on the safe sidewalks to school?
Mhm.
Yeah, lots of updates. The 90% plans went to the State Highway Commission, and they came back with pages and pages and pages of changes. And so the engineers are diligently trying to work through, they're trying to make this really a very difficult project. So we'll have responses completed by the end of this month, and go back to them to see what we can do. So yeah, very slow.
Is there any like formal complaining we can do that would be useful?
Potentially,
along?
if they don't go along with what we propose, then yes,
Okay.
we will pull in you folks to go after trying to help us get through the bureaucracy. They want us to get permits for stormwater, and they want us to move utility poles, and we did not budget $10,000+ to move a utility pole.
Right.
We came up with other avenues to deal with it. So I think our engineers are a great group, and Orman and Mike are working hard to get all the things taken care of. So I'm hopeful, but it's just a long process.
Do they have to be fully kind of ADA compliant? I was asking to think about like how wide they have to be. Just
Yeah,
sort of
they do
going
have
up
to
and
meet.
down my block of like, oh.
This is the sidewalks on Crittenton and 52nd. And then, yes, the sidewalks that we got our CDBG grant for, that I'm on the first stages of doing, for like 51st, Emerson, 52nd Place, 51st Place. Those will all be ADA compliant also. Yeah. And so that's why if we find that the right of way is too narrow, like over at Betsy's house, Betsy was with the engineer when we were walking the street, and like near her, on one side of her neighbor's got a very large tree, and we didn't really want to take that tree down. So what the engineer's design was a bump out to come out into the gutter a little bit, put a drain pipe under that, and then be able to keep going with the sidewalk. So same way with a utility pole. If we ran into a utility pole, they were doing that same way, but the State Highway Department didn't like that idea. So we're going back and forth now on that. But we'll get there.
Okay.
All righty. So the next item is the Maryland Municipal League.
I think
Oh, did I skip something? I'm sorry.
you missed one.
Oh, the next item is the consideration of the abatement of business personal property tax for table manners. Yes, for table manners at 5310 46th Avenue. Mr. Barnes, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Table Manners is a company. $6,929.55 is their business personal property tax bill from us. They have literally been out of business since March of last year, and they rent. I mean, they went in and they bought an old building in town here. Barbara and her folks redid the building. It's absolutely beautiful over on 46th Avenue. The inside, if you went in there, you would just be amazed. There's row and row after of tablecloths and napkins and dishware and you know, everything you need to conduct a party in a big scale and rent all of that stuff. She told us that, you know, she hasn't had a rental obviously in a year. She applied for the federal program, so she couldn't apply to our CARES Act dollars that we had last fall. And even though I'd tried to get her in on that program, but if the county had a rule that if you'd gone after the money from the federal, then you couldn't do through them. So we've reached out to Comptroller Fran Cho's office. We've reached out to Prince George's County Finance Office. They have kind of sent her back and forth to more about loans and programs that maybe don't work for her. So I told her that I'd bring it to you all and see if you had any suggestions or ideas that maybe we could work with. She may not be the only company in town in this situation. We know we don't have very many, but we do know that we had a floral company that went out of business during the pandemic and was bought up by another company that was suffering greatly. I was trying to help her, but she withdrew when she sold and closed. We have a party rental company over in the warehouses, and I think they've been able to keep going some as they've diversified in their uses. So you know, we've had CrossFit. We reached out to help her. She did not apply or want to apply for the program. So so I was just open to suggestions on how we can maybe help Barbara. She's a wonderful person working really hard to keep her business alive and going. And the one additional thing I might tell you that just happened this week, the 1.9 trillion or whatever the number is of the Recovery Act has been approved. And in that, they included state and local government money. We potentially could get a fairly large amount of money from that program. It will have specific requirements, and I don't know, I have a meeting tomorrow with some of the area managers, and we're going to talk about that and talk about some of those requirements because we haven't seen them yet. So it might be that some of that money could go to Miss Barbara, or if you guys have any other suggestions.
I'm not the business owner, so I'm not paying a lot of attention to this, but I know that in the most recent aid package, I thought, or the renewal of some of the prior aid, that they had earmarked like a couple of weeks of enrollment to apply for the next batch of federal funds to really small businesses. Like it was only businesses with fewer than like 50 employees or something. So I don't know if she had already signed up for that, or if that was
Yeah, she's fully aware of the federal programs and is pursuing those. I think part of the problem with some of those, they're loans. They're not direct aid or grants, and so they got to be paid back.
Maybe I thought that there were some like big asterisks of like it's a loan, but chances are you'll never.
You might be able to be forgiven at some point. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough of specifics, and that's why I was excited to connect her with Emily at Comptroller Francho's office, but she kind of punted her back to other folks and didn't really come up with anything that was concrete to help her. Well, if y'all don't have any suggestions, then I'll see what I can do through the Recovery Act and find out more details on that, and maybe that's our answer to be able to reach out and help her.
And is she collecting unemployment? I mean, is that an option for?
Well, she's the owner, so she wouldn't be collecting unemployment.
I have a friend that's like an independent contractor consultant, and maybe it was just through DC that she was able to actually get unemployment.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I was saying,
They're making a lot of odd exceptions and things. It seems like.
I know I can't file for unemployment as a business owner.
Right, yeah. She couldn't in Maryland. It may be a DC thing, but you couldn't in Maryland.
Proprietor?
I'm sorry?
Yeah. As a sole proprietor, is that different?
Sole proprietor? No, it would be, in Maryland, it'd be the same. You're an owner.
Maybe it's just in DC then.
Yeah. Her employees, obviously could, and she got CARES money, but her problem is she don't have not $1 coming in. And so she has a $20,000 tax bill, not just $6,900 to us, but she's got a big tax bill to the county. And so
how does abatement work? Just for meaning that like we would write off that she would not owe taxes this year to the municipality.
Correct.
So I'm sorry, Ms. Tuberville, sort of what we did with Nancy and forklift. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Yep, forklift.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah. I remember though, because we were concerned about there being like us setting a precedent for doing something like this, but also Nancy had like a totally messed up situation with how things had been assessed, as I recall, right? Like that was a real bizarre scenario. What I'm
not exactly, sort of, but not exactly.
Sort of, yes. She's also a nonprofit.
Sort of, but not exactly. It was sort of, but not exactly a messed up situation.
The first thing I did, Councilman or Council Person Tuberville, was I asked her to go back and look at her assessed valuation from the state and see if she could amend that return. if she
Uh-huh.
had her inventory, incorrectly stated, her personal property overvalued, and so she did go through that research. I believe she had like a 90-day window to do that, and I think she fell out of the side of that window. And I don't know that she could change the value because she has the inventory sitting in the warehouse.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is something that I've raised since the beginning of the pandemic, that I was concerned about, that we were going to have businesses in town that were really in a terrible spot because of, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Because of what the pandemic had done to their profits. So, I mean, I for one would be open into looking at an abatement, maybe not like 100%, but I'm also aware that like if we do it for her, that we need to be consistent with respect to other entities that might come to us and ask. So I just would want to make sure that we had like specific findings about why we were doing this in this specific case, so that if there was another person or another entity that came to us asking for something similar because they hadn't been successful with all these other relief programs that were meant to help them, that we were applying our rule fairly across the board. So I would first want to see what the new relief package that Congress just passed could potentially do to help support her and to support us if we permit abatements like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, thank you. I appreciate those comments, and that's what I'll work from that direction.
Can I ask one more thing? Rod, it might be helpful in your infinite free time. If you might be able to ballpark for us the other businesses that are maybe in a potential similar situation to her.
Yeah, we know that M&K Catering, we know CrossFit, we know USA Rental. So we've kind of been identifying them as we go, and we can go back and do even more of that. We're fortunate here in town. So many of our businesses stayed fully operational. The construction companies actually boomed to some degree. And because we have a lot of construction, and of course the auto parts and auto body, all of those kinds of things stayed going. So yeah, that's a good request, and we'll go back and work on that.
Yeah, and maybe ballpark for us what their personal property tax
Right.
was expected to be
Yeah.
for the fiscal year.
And a lot of them could not benefit from our stimulus package because they were operational. They needed it, but they were able to stay open. They needed the assistance, but they didn't fall in that little gap there where they could get our money, our assistance, because they were open.
Gosh.
But they needed the help. That's the thing. Just like Table Manners, they were open, but they didn't have the clientele, in a sense.
Right. I mean, it's sort of
who's renting.
Right. It's sort of insane to think that they would be considered open, given that
Mm-hmm.
no one was allowed to do.
Who's renting? Right.
Oh.
Yeah. And what's the sandwich shop? A&K? The catering. M&K. Yeah.
And they redid their business and they created a nonprofit, and then they offered out lunches for a certain amount, and they kind of, like a lot of others, got creative, especially the food restaurant places.
Yeah, you open just a little bit, but not enough to really make a profit. Okay. Anything else under that? Yes, Ms. Chester.
So I guess like when we go into our open meeting, like what is the resolution for this one? Maybe I'm not-
This isn't on your open agenda. This is only on your work session.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Um,
You've already covered your regular
So-
agenda. It was just
So what's,
down to the use agreement.
I see.
yeah,
Got it.
so what's on our open meeting is the bid for the rain garden,
Mhm,
the purchasing policy,
mhm.
and the park and planning walking trail.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. And of course, your minutes. So is that it for that? Ready to move on?
Well, no, I just,
Mhm.
I was hoping since we had the chief here that we might be able to talk about recent events.
What did you say? Go ahead. You had something else?
Right, I was saying since we have the chief here, if we might spend some time talking about recent events.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to know if you had something else on that subject.
No.
Okay, so let me go to the Maryland Municipal League, and then we can go to the chief, okay, Ms. Tuberville?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So the Maryland Municipal League Annual Conference is coming up in Ocean City, which is the 27th through the 29th. Mr. Barnes, do you want to, or you want me to?
Yeah, the league conference this year is they're actually going to do a live in person for 400 attendees, each town in the state, and there's 157. So each of them gets 2 registrations that can actually go to Ocean City and participate in the 2-day conference. Then along with that, you get 2 days of virtual workshops also later in the month. Actually, I think it's in July then when those occur. So Mayor Gant obviously is one of the attendees, and then I put this on here so that you all could decide if another of you wanted to attend in person in Ocean City on those dates.
I myself will stay in Evanston.
That maybe Hillary wanted to
Sorry,
go.
I'm happy with the virtual option. It's simple. I actually liked it when I did the fall one virtual. It seemed like it worked okay.
Yeah, this one though has the in-person part in Ocean City is not virtual. So it's only on site for those
They do have the
400
virtual
people.
option.
Huh?
They have the virtual option, you just said it.
No, that's coming later in July for 2 days, but it's not the same agenda. It's a
Oh,
different
so-
agenda.
So if you don't go, you can't sort of sit home and watch it being broadcast, the sessions.
I mean, Mary, you may know more about the league's.
I thought so. I thought that's how it was.
I didn't read that email super duper carefully. I can read it more carefully.
I thought so. I just got a different understanding.
I'm looking it up right this minute.
I thought they both were at the same time.
Okay, so the 3-day live one is June 27th through the 29th. The virtual full 2-day is July 19th and July 20th.
Oh, okay.
So you register for both.
So you either choose virtual or you choose in person.
And let's see if it's giving a preliminary. Preliminary program. The virtual is has the keynote live. It has learning labs. They're calling them learning labs, and 3 options to be announced. And those are various sessions. Then during the day, there's the Cabinet Secretaries Roundtable, which that typically happens live too. They have game night. They have a open solution showcase. And then on the second day, they have, of the virtual one, they have the MML business meeting, another general session, and then learning labs. Again, 2 different sessions of learning labs. So a little bit different. In the one that's live, they have the academy classes, core classes, 3 of them. They have the workshops, of course, and they have chapter meetings. And then, so they've kind of broken it apart. They have opening sessions. So it looks like they kind of put the secretaries and some lunch or some learning sessions on the virtual. And then on the live one, they did the academy classes, the grand opening session speaker, and the workshops that you would normally get when you went to that conference. Does that make sense?
I guess they're going to be having the academy classes off and on online still?
No,
No?
the academy classes have never been online, other than I think they've offered maybe one over time online. The academy classes are always in person, and through the University of Maryland, and they do core classes that you're required to have and electives.
Are you saying, I'm sorry, are you saying while during the virtual?
Yeah, I thought that in the fall meeting, 2 of this learning lab or sessions I attended counted as electives.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is correct.
he was
I'm sorry.
answering your question. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, were they mayor last year at the summer conference, when the virtual summer conference? Avery, did you do one of the?
They had them. They
Okay.
had them during the fall and the summer.
Yeah, I did a couple of the elective classes in the fall, and the others I did on site when they were able to have on site conferences.
But you also get them at Legit.
Yes, every year annually at Legit, there's offered up 1 or 2 classes. So we have a deadline. If somebody wants to attend in person along with the mayor, I need to know that by the end of the week.
Or virtually.
That's a heck of a thing to impose deadlines on people, MML, considering that we don't know if anyone's gonna be vaccinated by June, like.
Okay. All right. So
Most of the people attending have been in this, like, we were all in 1B, right?
They
Right?
come with their families.
Oh, what?
They stay in hotels. Like, it's,
Well, I guess the attendees, we've all been given the opportunity to get vaccinated, right? Because we're all in that first or second, I guess, category.
Correct.
Maybe that's why they feel confident having in person.
That would be my guess.
and that's why they have it limited.
Yeah, still limited, but
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to skip to the chief? Well, you want to quickly go to your capital projects?
Yeah. That won't take but just a minute. I just wanted to tell Betsy, I appreciated greatly her response to the resident over in her ward that asked about street maintenance. The reason that we haven't focused a lot on street maintenance of streets themselves, WSSC is coming through with a MAME replacement program, and they're going to literally destroy every street in town and then have to repave it at no cost to the town of Evanston. So I verified that that project was still moving forward, and it is now looking like fall, a fall start. They'll have public hearings and and public information times when they get closer and when they know if the contract's going to happen for sure. So you can tell all the residents that potentially every street in town will be repaved once that water main replacement program happens. The other thing that we've been doing is we've been focusing on sidewalks, as you know, 52nd Crittenden, and now we're doing sidewalks on one side of every street on this side of the river. We're proposing sidewalks on Gallatin next year with a grant program with Rain Gardens. We're proposing sidewalks down 47th Avenue to the park with a streetlight project that we wrote a grant for. And so those kinds of things we are focusing on. We just haven't focused on, Betsy, on paving the streets because of this WSSC project. And I hope that we keep that pushing forward so that we can get those, particularly, I didn't particularly think the street that he was talking about was in any kind of bad shape.
Yeah. I think 47.
Yes,
It's rough.
yes.
Hamilton didn't look that bad.
No, I didn't think so either. But anyway, good response, and I appreciate taking the time to reach out. I know the person really appreciated it too. I could tell in their response. So.
Well, I'll let them know that what WSSC has scheduled, and we're at their mercy.
You're right, right.
And at one time, I'm sure it has gone, or we used to have a chart where we had done some of the roads, what roads we had planned on doing. And I'm talking, this is back when I was in the council originally. I was wondering if that is still around or whether, yeah, that's what I thought. Don't worry about looking for it. I think it's probably been gone for a while.
Yeah, no, we don't have it. We do have a grant currently to redo Crittenden, which is kind of bad, particularly in areas down by the park and that section. We may go, if we get the grant, we may go ahead with that, and then of course WSC just has to put it back to that same condition. But we'll see. And then Mayor, the next item quickly, the draft calendar of activities went out. If y'all have questions, concerns, changes, please let us know. Chief Gibson still has a few dates to add, I know, for some of his activities. And so we'll just add them in as they come. But if you have any questions about it, just let us know.
And the support letter for La Fondita. The attorney sent, we have a support letter for La Fondita.
Yes, I sent it out to y'all, a packet. He sent the plans again. He did add your handicap ramp that you requested in your review. They're moving forward. He sent me a kind of a poorly written support letter for the mayor to do, so I reworked it. You have both versions. You have their version and the one I rewrote for the mayor. But I didn't want us to appear like we were saying carte blanche, this is an approved project. That I wanted it to make sure that read that they had to meet Prince George's County planning, zoning, and permit requirements to keep going forward.
Very good.
Any
comments on that?
Nope.
Great. All right. So now, Ms. Tuberville, questions to the chief.
Yes. Well, Chief, I appreciate you quickly managing the gang tagging that we observed on the levee yesterday. And I don't know if maybe you could tell us about any follow-up that you might have had with the owner, and just sort of what the status is, you think, of the painting over that, for starters.
Okay. First of all, good evening to all of you. I appreciate the opportunity to share information around the town about things that concern us relating to crime and disorder. there is a garage that is in the rear of 5200 Emerson Street. Emerson Street address has a very long driveway, and this garage backs up to the creek in the back. And apparently, night before last, a couple of the residents came through and put MS-13 tags on the tall, like a story and a half garage. The garage itself is white, and so they tagged the information they wanted to display in black spray paint. You can see the paint, you know, dripping down the wall if you got close to it. So we took pictures. I got code enforcement involved as well as Public Works. We just wanted to go and take a look, and I had the lovely Betsy in tow as well. So we went over and took a look, and based on our observation that it was in fact graffiti, I had Eric from Code Enforcement put together a notice that we might notify the owner and provide information to him or her about our ordinance as it relates to graffiti in the town, as well as the 48 hours that the owner of the property has to adjudicate what's referred to in the ordinance as a nuisance. So we left the notice yesterday around 3 o'clock or so. And to date, we have not heard from the owner. Eric went by again today around 2:30, I guess. No one was home. No one was home yesterday either. So we do not know if in fact the owner of record has received the information that we might, you know, one, have him or her notified, and then make arrangements to get, you know, either the garage painted. It's too much to, you know, try to white it out. You'd have to paint the entire back of the garage because of the size of the writing along the garage. It goes from the ground up to the roof and from one end of it to the other. And this is a remote area in that you can't see it from the street. I don't care how you know, traverse Emerson heading back out to the main street. You can't see it. You would have to actually be standing on the walking trail in order for you to see it. So we're going to take this thing day by day. And I stopped by today as well. No one was home. So I'm not even certain that they are aware that we left the notice. There was no indication. They didn't call or ask for our assistance, but we're willing to help up to and including helping them paint whatever color they deem appropriate to, you know, white out or black out this black tagged message. So we're taking it day by day, and it's at the top of our agenda, Ms. Tuberville, if you will. So hopefully in the next day or so, we'll get that matter adjudicated.
Okay. Yeah, I am deeply troubled by it. I mean, I know it's not on a public street, but it is it's very visible by the numerous people that are up and down the levee every single day. And it's also just a very brazen thing to do. And so that's why I'm just pressing it, because I feel like it has to be removed swiftly so that, you know, a message is sent about how willing we are to tolerate this kind of stuff. The second thing I wanted to ask you about is that it says MS-13. And I wonder to what extent, given the events that happened in Riverdale Park last month, you know, we're seeing things happening in my community that I'm very concerned about. I suspect a lot of it has to do with COVID and young people being idle and all of those kinds of things. But I would really be curious about what we can do to be proactive as a community to kind of demonstrate that, you know, that this kind of stuff is just not tolerated, like, so people don't want to bother. And so I'm not sure how to do that. I wondered if we ought to let the county police know that this happened, right? I mean, because they've got an entire division, I would imagine, dedicated specifically to issues around gang activity and violence. So what do you think about that?
Okay, Prince George's County Police Department has a gang unit that monitors, gathers intelligence about, and makes efforts to adjudicate criminally those activities of individuals that are in the group. What I decided that I would do is I also have a background in, we refer to it as vice activity. And what I'm going to do is try to touch the chief from Prince George's County Police and see if they can have a representative maybe come over or provide information to me that I can share about things that may or may not be going on in our immediate area. When I say our area, I'm talking about Edmonston, as well as Hyattsville, Riverdale Park, Bladensburg, and some of the other towns up and down Bladensburg Road. This tagging, even though it might be unique to that building, we can't tolerate that because, there's that theory of broken windows. Once you allow it to happen once, folks will get the impression that they can come by and just, put a little paint on everything, bridges, trash cans, trees, and, every other kind of appurtenance they happen to come across. So I'm gonna try to gather a little more information, and hopefully the next time we meet, I'll be able to provide some information or share the fact that there was no new information to bring to this body with a view toward gathering information about MS-13. I think everybody on this call understands that a lot of young folks, preferably Hispanic individuals, have ties to MS-13, both in Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax County, and Washington, D.C., and the Adams, Morgan, and Mount Pleasant areas. I've done probably 24 gang presentations over the years, and I do not know what's going on in Hyattsville and Riverdale Park and Bladensburg today, but I'll get that information, and the next time we meet, I'll be in a position to share that information or the fact that there is no new information.
Okay.
That's my hat. That's all I have.
I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you. And I've noticed something else over the last couple of months in our community. I feel like it's just, I don't know if it's because we're like peak pandemic or what's going on, but there's just voluminous amounts of trash on various streets. Hillary, I was on your street today, and there on the corner of Crittenden and 51st, up and down 51st on the other side, Decatur too. It just, the community is not sort of in the same shape maybe that we would expect it to be. And I tend to think, and this might be completely off base, but I tend to think that communities that, show their pride, right, are places that they're a little bit more difficult to kind of mess with this kind of crap that we saw happen 2 nights ago. And so if there might be ways for us to kind of, you know, redouble the efforts to, you know, keep Edmonston beautiful, I think that that might also at least, I don't know if that would have an impact or not, but I feel like that might be worth something to look at.
Ms. Tuberville, are you referring to trash dropped by the passersby or individual residents who are putting trash out?
I think it's a combination of both. And I don't know if I'm like off base and being the only person who's observed this, but I just, and this isn't a criticism of the work of anyone in the town. I just think I think circumstances are changing a little bit and that we need to adjust and adapt and address it.
Sarah, I know that one house you're talking about on the corner of 51st and Crittenden. And Eric, I know, has been out there, has talked to the homeowner, and the homeowner let us know, we were both there, that they're going to put that property up for sale. And that was one of the homes that was not targeted as a rental house, but apparently it had been used as a rental house.
Mm-hmm.
Eric has told him that he's got, 2 weeks to have Bates come up and pick up, because they're going to pick up so much trash at one time on the special pickup. And he told him and showed him that some of the trash can be put out with regular trash just to move it. And Eric informed me that he was going to send them also a written notice. But yes, there is, trash out in that yard. And there's some furniture that needs to be removed. And across from it, in one of the rain gardens, there was a lot of I think it was a Pepsi 12-pack that was over there and a couple pizza boxes. And I have a feeling it came from that home.
Light guys, those guys were a mess. The light installer guys were so trashy. They just left trash everywhere.
Yeah, and I know that we can't control people's activities like that, but it's like accumulating. And so, if we need to spend a little extra funding to clean up the town right now, because we can't do maybe the cleanup days that we used to do as a community because of COVID concerns or whatever, I think maybe we should look into doing that as a spring cleaning kind of thing or something. I just don't like the totality of all of these things happening at the same time.
I might just add that Public Works for the next 2 days, their mission is to clean the rain gardens and pick up trash specifically along right-of-ways. And so that you'll see a concerted effort there. Dumpster Day is March 27th. So we are advertising for that so people can bring any trash they want. We'll have 3 big roll-offs here at Town Hall. And so we usually get great participation of that. And then Earth Day cleanup is April 24th, I believe. And so we'll be cleaning trash all along the levee again on that particular day. So we do have a lot of efforts going on towards that, and we'll continue to do that. Thanks for pointing that out.
I wanted to bring up, a lot of things have been going on and, in the town. And I know the chief has been excellent on getting the information out to the neighborhoods that have been hit, personally, on Facebook. And I think in other towns where they have the electronic boards that can be updated actually from town hall, whether Mr. Barnes does it or the chief does it or Mayor Gann or whoever's down there, that you almost instantly put up on these boards, the electronic boards. Now we have 2 boards, one at the gas station, and we have the other one at Veterans Park. Both of them have electric, but I would love to see us in our budget, at least at the one up at the gas station, get an electronic board instead of the, we replace the letters type system. Even in front of Town Hall, we have the board there. So it's something I would hope that maybe in our budget Mr. Barnes? That we can, because what a great way of getting information out really quick.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful, Ms. McCauley. I think we're all on the same page with that. And the great thing is that we are in our budget season. And I know that our police chief has even mentioned that to me. So just think, he's just coming in and saw that need as well. So we're all on that same page. I think we talked about it last year or year before or something like that. So we'll be able to, oh, thanks, Mr. Johnson. We'll be able to find some sources, some way to get that rolling. So,
We did,
thanks,
Mayor, we
Mr.
did write a grant, if you recall, remember, for the port towns. All of us wrote for an electronic board and it did not get approved.
Didn't
So,
get approved.
yeah.
How long ago was that, Rod?
About 2 years ago. We tried for community legacy money through the Department of Housing and Community Development, and they weren't excited about it. So we ended up not being successful.
How much do those things cost?
Um,
Anywhere from 1,200. I had this conversation with the mayor about 3 weeks ago, Mayor. And
Yes.
I told her that I would look to see if we could identify some grant funding. And if we couldn't, maybe we could put it in the budget over a 2-year period. So I've been looking, and they go from maybe $1,200 to about $3,000. And they have these rotating messages every 10 seconds. The message changes on it, and you do operate it from a computer inside of town hall, as opposed to having to go to the board. So, one or the other. If a grant is not available, maybe we can put the money in the budget, or I'll pull it out of my pocket and y'all can reimburse me later. But we have to do this. That's coming into the 21st century. We can no longer be going out in the rain with an umbrella, changing the letters like my dad used to do 50 years ago at the church. So, one way or the other, we have to do this.
I
So
know.
I'm looking into that now.
I see Sue Ellen has joined us now, and I do know that Cottage City, I don't propose this, and Sue Ellen's the expert on this, but they use their INET money, not their INET money, their PEG money, to buy an electronic billboard for the town of Cottage City. I don't know that that's a purpose that is correct, but I'll defer that to Sue Ellen. But that is, we get about $9,000 a year in PEG money that we use for our network here in the building, and connection. If that is something we can tie to that, then there's certainly a source of funding right there.
Nope.
You can use your PEG money for expenses that are connected to your cable transmissions or your use of the INET.
I knew that's what you were going to say, so I could not understand how they did that. So
Yeah, that's about it.
thank you.
Well, sometimes they just do things, so.
Correct.
So I want to go ahead and adjourn this meeting so we can leave, right, Rick? And then come back into our regular meeting and get that started at 7:05. So I want to drop off for 5 minutes and then come back on, so everyone can take a quick 5-minute break and come back. Sorry, Sue Ellen. Yeah.